Shall we begin?
From the headquarters of the Truth in Broadcasting Network, introducing Truckin City Journal and the El-Rushbo of Truckin News, Boss Man.
All right. I'm going to assume I'm back and live. I've just had people inform me that I have audio problems. Live TV, folks. What do you want? It is what it is. Let's start off by telling you folks exactly what tonight's show is all about, because obviously you didn't hear it. Everybody thinks lighter is better. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not necessarily the case. And I'm going to do a favor, and that's I'm going to scan the comments, because the only comment I see is one of my buddies telling me no sound. So I want you to tell me right now if you can hear me and we're okay. So put down in the comments, let me know, because I don't want to be talking for the next hour for nothing. So let me know that you're hearing me. In the meantime, now that you can hear me, greetings, truck lovers and truth seekers. You are with the CIC of the United States of Truckin. Coming to you, hopefully, with sound. Anytime now, folks. You can comment any day. I got 4 of you watching. Coming to you with the God-blessed talent from God himself to tell you how to make trucking great again. Beautiful. We have sound. I have somebody in the audience telling me. August 30, Reuters wrote an article based on the California Department of Motor Vehicles deciding on draft regulations to commence an operation on autonomous vehicles. They're considering raising the limits from the now known 80,000 pounds to a God-foreseen limit of 91,000 pounds. So tonight's show is about that very thing, and I want to see what your opinion is on this and other things relating to weight, and ask you the question: is lighter better, or do we have other issues at play here? Because there's 2 ways to look at this. You could have a legislation that approves an all around, let's get everything heavier and move more freight in less space. Or you could have this side of the argument where, okay, that's dangerous and it's going to cause more problems. So we're going to go through this tonight. We're going to get your take on this. And I would like to have an honest discussion as to whether or not lighter is better, or should we just leave things alone? Let us know in the comments. As I said earlier, and you didn't hear, if you have an opinion and would like to have it known on our show, give us a call, 860-785-3547, 860-785-3547. Send us an email here at the show. That's truckinnews@outlook.com. That's truckinnews at outlook.com. If you have ideas for future stories you'd like discussed and would like to have featured on a show like this. We are back behind the golden TIB microphone, once again broadcasting to you from the Truth in Broadcasting main headquarters. Now that we have our audio situation figured out, welcome to the show and sit down for what I believe is going to be a very valuable opinion and an even better discussion. I want to know what you think of this Reuters article. Let me tell you something. I've been in trucking a while. And you know what? I think the rules and the regulations, first of all, we have enough of them. Secondly, why make him more dangerous? Why open a Pandora's box for what many in the industry probably aren't even ready for? I'm going to sit here and read you guys an opinion and let you know about some of the things I've thought about as regards to this. And then we're going to bring on another panelist, somebody that's in backstage who's a regular occurring guest. And I want to encourage you, if you are in the audience and would like to join the show, in the chat, as well as down below in the description, is a StreamYard link. And if you'd like to be on the show and you'd like to sound off on your opinions or thoughts on how to make trucking great again, go ahead and click that link. It'll ask you to authenticate for YouTube. Come on up. Just don't be camera shy. And don't be the kind that sits on the fence and stays silent. The only way to solve a problem is to be part of the solution. And here on this channel, you can be part of the solution. Folks, buckle up because we're going to have a rather heavy discussion. Literally, the trucking industry is once again at a crossroads with the debate raging over increasing weight limits for tractor trailer trucks to 91,000 pounds. Now, on the surface, the argument for heavier trucks seems clear. Efficiency, cost savings, fewer trips. Okay, but when you dig deeper, the story shifts from the economic gains to the very real safety concerns that could plunge our roads into chaos. Trust me, I know this firsthand. Let's start with the basics. Proponents of increasing weight limits argue that it will reduce the number of trucks on the roads. It'll cut emissions and boost productivity. These are compelling points, especially when we consider the logistics challenges facing us in the trucking industry today, but there's a catch. Actually, several of them. I'm going to name a few. If you could think of some, put them in the comments. Let's get to it. We've seen the stats, folks. According to the IIHS, bigger and taller vehicles like trucks and SUVs are 45% more likely to cause fatal crashes with pedestrians than their smaller counterparts. And here's the kicker. Pedestrian deaths in the U.S. have skyrocketed by over 75% since 2009. That's just, one statistics. I've said before, statistics can be manipulated in many directions. But think about that for a moment. Now, add in an extra 11,000 pounds to a semi-truck barreling down the road and ask yourself, are we ready to face these consequences? Now, not in my talking points, but yet an equally dangerous question. You put that 91,000 pounds on the road at 70 miles an hour with no human intervention. Are we asking for trouble here? The physics are unforgiving. Heavier trucks mean longer stopping distances, greater wear and tear on brakes, and increased risks of catastrophic accidents. It's not just pedestrians, folks. What happens when these behemoths that share the road with the average individual like you and me are unmanned? Are we paving the way for efficiency, or are we actually putting together the materials for a gravestone? Just saying. Hashtag just saying. Let's not forget the backbone of this great nation of ours, right? Roads, bridges, the very things you and I drive over every day. It's already tested. It's already straining under the weight of current traffic laws. The American Society of Civil Engineers consistently grades our infrastructure as poor, citing billions needed in repairs, and much work need to be done. Now, imagine the damage heavier trucks could inflict on this very thing they cite. Now, who pays for that? Spoiler alert, it's not the companies, it's you and me through taxes. Okay, autonomous trucks? Really? Let's talk about the red herring in the group. Some argue that autonomous trucks could offset these risks. After all, machines don't get tired. They don't get distracted, nor do they make the same errors that we humans do. I beg to differ. But this isn't a sci-fi fantasy. This is real life. And autonomous technology isn't foolproof. Okay? There are, stop it. Don't you mess with me. There are a lot of things at play here. A lot of possibilities of things that can go wrong. Trying to shift things up a little bit here. Boom, boom. Even with self-driving trucks entering the scene, the basic law of physics and infrastructure strain doesn't change. This isn't just about infrastructure or physics. It's about perception and trust. Okay? The trucking industry spent decades earning a reputation as the lifeline of the American economy. But if safety standards are compromised, if accidents involving heavier trucks dominate the headlines, what do you think is going to happen? Put it in the comments. Let me know. Public trust will be gone, as if it's not damaged enough already. And trust me, once it's gone, we'll never get it back. This is my contribution to make trucking great again. Let's have a discussion and let's entertain the idea of once again getting back to basics. The road ahead leaves us at a crossroads. Some decisions have to be made. This push for heavier trucks, it has valid arguments. Okay, but the risks are large. Instead of jumping headfirst into increasing weight limits, we need a balanced approach. And here's 4 things I think we need to think about. Conduct comprehensive safety studies. All right. Before we make sweeping changes, let's understand the full scope of how what we're doing will affect not just our roads, but everybody else. Don't just limit that comprehensive study to the trucking industry. Expand it to include shippers, receivers, people, the overall public. Everyone that touches or is affected by a truck needs to have a way to weigh in. Play on words, I know. Invest in infrastructure. If we're serious about heavier trucks, we've got to do a lot of work, folks. You can't put these trucks on what we currently have right now. There's just no way. Dude, you're going to be closing roads left, right, and 6 weeks to Sunday. Enhanced safety technology, okay? That's something we probably put a lot of weight in and we've put a lot of media attention on. From advanced braking systems to pedestrian detection technology. Okay, we got to priority safety before we put more weight on these trucks. And lastly, public awareness. Educate us guys that drive them, and the general public on sharing the road and becoming more aware of what's going on. You see it every day. You're on the road, people cut you off. They don't realize you're fully loaded 80,000 pounds. You're going to run over them like a bug, and they don't care. They need to know about the dangers of their reckless and careless acts before any of this is done. So let's get a look at your comments. Let's talk to some panelists. I've got 2 in the back room. Let's have fun. Let's make this an industry we can be proud of. I want to welcome in one of our regular panelists, Thumper. God bless you. Welcome to the show. Introduce yourself, have fun, and tell me what you think about being light. Is it better or not?
Thumper, and I got Dog with me, Bo, as you guys all know, and actually one of the other guys that's sitting behind backstage, I brought him in on the show, so I got to toot my horn.
You toot your horn, brother. We'll hear you all the way in North Carolina.
Right. Uh, you can find me on TikTok and YouTube. Okay, that's about me right there.
There you go.
Now weight wise, I run heavy. I'm over 80,000 pounds all the time unless I'm empty going to go pick something up. So I guess I'm kind of used to it, and kind of where I
Now,
live, where I live,
explain.
the infrastructure is already.
Well, I was going
Oh, go
to
ahead.
say, explain to the audience or those watching in the replay, why does that matter to you? You're overweight. Why is that, and how do you get away with that?
Well, I get away with it because I have permits, for one,
Right.
and two, uh, the reason why I'm over the loads that we do are by ton. We get paid by ton, not miles. So like your general freight people, no offense, boss man, but like you the reapers and dry vans
Dry
and stuff,
vans. Yeah.
yeah, your freight or your LTL, whatever you call it, um, you could run 80,000 pounds and be fine with it all day long. Well, my situation, I specialize in grain and cattle. I need that weight to make it worthwhile that the truck is on the road.
Right.
So that's why it's kind of important to me. Like I've been preaching about this for a while now. I think we had quite a couple discussions about it. It's like when I'm in North Dakota here. My truck is rated for 105.5, but in
Right.
Minnesota, I can't drive on interstate loaded at 105.5 because it's an 80,000 pound interstate
Right.
lanes.
Right.
So I've always made the argument of they need to make the states all equal and just stick to it instead of trying to remember, oh, this state is this, that state is that, and then, oh crap, I'm overweight. Now what?
Right. I'm going to bring up our backstage guest. I see the name. I'm going to warn the backstage guest before I unmute the mic. Make sure any players or any information broadcast behind you is muted. The only thing coming through the show needs to be you. So first of all, let me go ahead and bring that gentleman up and let me show his face. And Will, go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend.
Yeah, hey, my name is Billy, but I've been trucking for about 18 years, and I've seen that your topic about heavier weights and stuff. I'm assuming that that's messing with me.
You're assuming what? You cut out. I'm sorry.
My headphones echoing in my ear, so it's messing with me.
I hear you.
Anyways, I see that you're probably from the East Coast and stuff like that, where infrastructure is a little bit different. You guys have a lot more congestion, a lot more bull crap to go through than we do out here out west.
Yep.
But we're better set up for things like that out here.
Right.
Over half the country, you can license your truck for 105.5, like Nebraska's 94,000. I don't. But you also get states like Oregon and Utah where they have their own bridge law and everything else that really just makes it different for everybody else, compared to the national bridge laws.
Yep. Well, I mean, honestly, you're talking about a difference from West Coast to East Coast. I've got another backstage guest I'm going to bring up here just a moment, but before I do, Will, let me ask you: do you think heavier trucks would make the roads more dangerous overall, or do you think we have a long way to go?
Well, I mean, in more congested areas, yeah, I wouldn't want to haul heavier into, but when you get out into the wide open areas, you look at Canada, for example, they seem to do pretty good with the heavier weights, even in congested areas, but it's a lot of common sense.
Yeah. Makes total sense to me. Want to welcome Fate Trucking in the house. Boom. How are you doing, my friend? I think I got to mute him. Unmute him, rather. There we go.
Yeah, sorry.
We have
Good
technical
evening.
issues left, right, and sideways tonight. Welcome to the show.
So, man, Thumper just put out a great ad on why not to be a cattle hauler.
Oh wow, you're right.
Yeah, what are you
Talking
doing,
about
Thumper?
talking about that.
Thumper's on here saying he's got to run 100,000 pounds just to make money. Come on, buddy. We know that's a lie.
Yeah. Speaking of the money, speaking of the money, who here would like to opine on the advantages slash disadvantages of increased weights? I mean, if we're talking about money, we're in the game to make money. And I don't see any benefit by increasing weight to accommodate more freight just to make more money. It's going to be, I think, a recipe for disaster. What do you say,
Well,
Pate?
oh,
Go ahead, Pate. Go ahead. That question was to you anyway.
Well, first we got to address the fact that trucks are designed to haul a certain amount of weight. Your tires, everything. I mean, that's why like heavy haul guys spec their trucks differently than what I do. You know what I mean?
Pushers and
different
axles,
different axle weights for your steers and things like that.
Mhm.
So you're talking about if they, I mean, it's 11,000 more pounds. Well, that 11,000 pounds is going to be on your steers, on your drives, or on your tandems, right?
Yep.
Like
Gotta
now
be
there are
spread out evenly. Yep.
there already are states that allow over 30, like a lot of where I travel is 34,000 pounds on my tandems. I believe it's like Florida, Wyoming, stuff like that allow more weight on your tandems than most states. When it comes to money, of course, you know, you're booking freight based on the weight.
Right. Yep. I think we got some background noise here. Hang on one second. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to mute you for a minute because we got a caller calling in our studio line 860-785-3547.
Hello, Griff.
It's not Griff. Nice one. You thought it was Griff, didn't you? No, we got the grumpy old trucker calling us on the studio line. How you doing there, Grumpy?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Sorry I wasn't able to be a part of the show tonight. I would love to, but I decided, well, you know, I'll just call in and ruffle up some feathers.
Well, you got to make a living, so you know you got to do it safely. So hey, I applaud you for doing that. Thanks for calling, by the way. So what do you think of the discussion so far? Is lighter better or is heavier okay in your book?
Well, seeing how I've never done any kind of heavy haul, I honestly can't say yay or nay on that. Now, I've heard of a lot of men that make a lot of money doing heavy haul.
Okay.
So I reckon it pays better.
Maybe, maybe not.
You know,
I mean, we're not talking about the dollars and cents part of it. We're talking about, you know, the cost. I mean, that's mainly what this Reuters article is talking about. And that's what I'm attacking. I mean, if the weight limit increases to 91,000 pounds, who's going to pay for it? Are you going to pay for it?
I'm not paying for it, that's for sure.
Well, that's what's going to wind up happening. It's going to wind up getting spread out to the taxpayers, which in the end of it is going to wind up being you. You're the one that's going to pay for it. So,
yeah, kind of figures.
That's one of the reasons I want to go ahead and bring this up. Go ahead, Faye.
You're partially right and partially wrong when you bring up taxpayers, and I get why, because you're talking about more tax dollars for infrastructure and stuff like that. I'm assuming, correct?
Right. Correct.
Well, we already pay a tax as owner operators and carriers of a 2290 highway tax. That's what's going to go up. Absolutely.
I knew that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like the burden is going to be put on us. I mean, obviously, yes, probably, you know, standard people's taxes are going to increase in counties and cities and states, but most of that burden is going to be put on us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So what I
Um,
was getting at when I was talking about Thumper over here, him and I run 7, 8 axles. It's not like we're running, your 5 axle setup with the Reapers and the dry vans.
right.
We've got a long bridge and everything else. I mean, I've pulled doubles that were over 120,000 pounds.
Hmm.
When things are built that way, to spread the weight out, I feel that we kind of missed that part of the communication when we said we're not just running a normal 5 axle truck when we're over 100,000 pounds. No,
Right.
we're running
But
seven,
you
eight
can be.
axles, which allows us. Yeah, we can be over
Yeah.
100,000 pounds all day
Yeah,
long legally. It's not like
There,
we're sitting there breaking the law or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
there's a picture right there on my screen.
I see that. That's your truck with the pusher on it.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what we run. Hold
Yeah.
on. There we go.
There you go. Yep. We
That.
see it. Full
Oh,
screen.
sorry.
No, you're
There we
good,
go.
man.
Yeah, that's
Live TV. This is stuff
that's
that happens on live TV.
that. No, that's what we run so we can haul that extra weight. Is that other axle that with the small tires on it, so we can haul that extra weight.
Exactly. Exactly. And there are trucks that are even equal to or more sophisticated than that. So I mean, your
Well,
configurations for trucks are as wide as the need for the movement. I mean, imagine the stuff that these house movers go through. I mean, those people are. I mean, they're hauling more than 80,000 pounds. Obviously, they have to. But they also pay big money for it too. So, um, think about it from this perspective. What would be, and this I'm gonna address everybody on this panel. What would be your biggest concern, safety wise, when you're sharing the road with larger and heavier vehicles? I mean, if this were to become a thing, what would be one of the things you'd worry about?
Well, okay, so I don't know if you've ever seen Swift yanking the quad axle trailers out west and whatnot like that, and I don't see them having too many accidents. Hell, I've seen them pulling triples and Rocky Mountain doubles out there. It's a lot of putting it out there for drivers to be conscious of what they're hauling and the people that they're around and avoiding the more congested areas. I think that being set up for toll roads would probably be better, kind of like
Mhm.
New York and Indiana and all that does with the triples.
Right,
But driving into New York City or Chicago or something like that heavy, I don't think it's a good idea.
right, right.
They can't even fix the potholes they already got.
Yep, yep. So of all the configurations you know of and all the what you just mentioned, think about fuel economy. I mean, right now with the fuel prices being what they are, I would think fuel economy would be one of the chief concerns, second only to safety, obviously, that would run through the average mind of a trucker that wants to be profitable and still stay ahead of the game and continue providing for their family. The less
I
your
get
fuel mileage is, the less money you're putting on the table. What say you, Fate?
Well, let's take it into. Oh, sorry, I'm cutting in.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead and answer the question, Will, and let me know what your thought is. I want to hear Fate trucking on this one.
Well, if you're hauling around cheap freight and stuff like that, obviously it doesn't pay to have the heavier weight.
Yeah, yeah.
In an average a newer truck, you're looking at at 100,000 pounds in between 5 and 5.5 miles a gallon. Which,
Mhm.
let's be honest, most of those long nose trucks out there yanking a reefer are doing that.
Right.
Being more conscious. I mean, fuel out here is dirt cheap right now. I think I paid $2.69 a gallon for diesel just the other day down in South Dakota.
Wow. Yeah. It's getting cheaper,
Prospect.
but
So,
still,
it makes a big difference.
yeah. Hold on. Let's hear from Grumpy. Go ahead, sir.
I'd love to say I've got an important phone call that just came through, and I need to take it. But I'm glad I was able to be a part of your show for a short period of time.
God bless you.
And I will say one thing, man. If the weight is going up, I better gain some weight then, huh?
Amen to that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right.
That's right.
God bless you. Be
Got a
safe.
nice time,
Good
guys.
talking to you,
Take
Grumpy.
care.
I forgot you were on the phone.
Yeah, no problem. Good talking to you,
Bye.
Grumpy. Take care and keep her rolling, my friend.
All right, later on.
All right. I mean, when it comes down to it, fuel economy is really a big deal in my book. I mean, it's something I closely pay attention to. And if you don't have it, I don't see where you can stay afloat long enough to really make a difference in this industry. What say you, Faith?
On the fuel economy, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, because the heavier you make the trucks, obviously that's going to go out the window. That's a huge concern in my mind.
Well, yeah. So as somebody that's hauled heavy haul before, my number one concern when I hauled heavy haul is safety.
Obviously,
now granted, I wasn't an owner operator hauling heavy haul. My fuel economy in that truck was like 4.6, 4.7 miles per gallon.
Wow.
You know, if they increase all this, they're going to increase the technology in the trucks as well.
Well, that stands to reason, and that's going to happen regardless. But I mean, why put bad after good? If you're increasing the yield per gallon just by the course of technology and advancements, why throw something at the industry like heavier weights to offset that? It's like you're putting a bad thing after a good thing. And in my mind, that's what I think. You know?
It's not like everybody's going to be hauling 90, 100,000 pounds either. You know what I mean?
Well, true. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because here's the thing. The moment the autonomous exception comes up, look what happens with the agricultural thing. Everybody that runs agricultural has the exemption and they can run past hours. And the same thing could feasibly happen with weight limits. If the autonomous trucks are given the credence to go over 80,000, someone's going to find a loophole somewhere. And next thing you know, it's going to be commonplace. It's no longer going to be the exception. It's going to be the rule. And that's how it starts. That's my concern right there.
Okay. You want to talk about autonomous? Okay, that's fine.
Well, that's the purpose of the article.
I'm going to tell you this right now. It ain't happening for a long time, because what's going to tell that truck what to do? Somebody sitting behind a computer. Okay,
right.
Now what
happens? I agree with you, but I think you're missing the argument. The argument is the weight, not whether it's manned or unmanned. Okay, well, because they're doing it for the electrification. With electric trucks, they're going to be heavier by default. Their argument is that because you're running a heavier tractor, they need the exception to be able to carry the same freight. It's not whether it's autonomous. That's coming either way. And unlike your opinion, I think it's coming faster than we want to think. But the argument stems from electric trucks. And that's what they're doing this for.
What I'm getting up is, you brought up autonomous. So what I'm getting at is,
well, that's the rooters.
You're talking about safety and all this other stuff. Okay, well, here's a safety factor. What happens when that truck loses communication with something and it just goes rogue?
I hear your concern, but I seriously doubt that's going to happen. If it doesn't have communications, it's got an operative protocol where it shuts down and sits there
in the middle of the road.
It's a computer. They're going to do whatever they want.
Right.
Yep.
I don't mean to be rude right now, boss man. Thumper's 100% accurate.
What about the road thing?
It will lose communication.
Well, that's true.
Everything loses communication.
Exactly.
Our top military stuff loses communication.
Yeah.
And even if it just goes into a protocol and shuts down, it will technically be rogue as it's shutting down in the middle of the road. Like,
but
that's going to cost.
But we're not starting a controversy. We're not talking about Terminator, okay? Just so you know.
Well, no, I mean,
you're the one that brought it up.
Safety. You're talking about safety.
I would like to see one of those autonomous trucks go into half the places we go to.
You're right.
I would too.
Well, they gonna put sensors out on a little dirt road out in the middle of Montana somewhere?
I just didn't want to be blasted in the middle of CNN where trucking professional calls out autonomous trucks for Terminator or whatever. And I just, no, that's not the way I want to get famous. Thank you.
But okay, so if they want to raise the weight rule instead of doing the whole whatever, Why don't they? Actually, no, I'm not going down that road because Fate's gonna yell at me.
Well, bring it, baby. I mean, let's have the conversation. I mean, it's not like anybody else is offering
Why?
anything.
Why? Okay, if they're gonna want to do a weight rule, well, in the '70s they had a length law, right?
Right.
Okay, so why don't you put a cap on the weight of cargo and not the weight of the truck?
What would that do, honestly? Because where would you set that? I mean, I see what you're saying, but where would you set that?
60,000 pounds.
So you're asking to take half the demand away from the public and reducing the weight and forcing more trucks onto the road where we don't even got enough drivers to cover it all.
The whole reason they're bringing this up, and the whole reason Reuters even put this out, is because they're trying to accomplish opposite of what you just said. They're trying to put more freight in trucks and reduce the rate of trucks being on the road to begin with. That's the whole purpose behind the regulation they're trying to pass. I see it, I understand it, but you got to put the pros and the cons, which is the whole point of tonight's show. Is the pros worth the cons? Can we deal with that? Okay, we got less trucks, but we got more wear and tear, i.e., more costs, more problems, and more accidents.
It's one of those things. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's an interesting way. We just got done talking about this. And another question I had put down. Do you think the push for bigger trucks and this weight discussion we're having, not me, but what they put in Reuters, is about improving efficiency, or is it more about the profit margins for the bigger companies that can afford to do this? Because
I think it's more about the profit margin. I'll be honest with you, 100%. It's more about that.
Probably, because I always try to think of it from the small guy's perspective, the you and the me's, the people like you, Thumper, Fate, all of us that have the smaller companies. We don't have the huge profitable corporate connections, So it might be a little bit harder on us, but they're saying, and it was mentioned in this article, it's about efficiency. I tend not believing that myself. I don't.
But you
I don't
look at
see
a lot
where,
of the big companies out there that are already running these big heavyweights out on the West Coast. Like I said, Swift has it all, everything. I see that. I've seen Schneider pulling triples. I've seen JB Hunt pulling triples.
Right.
God forbid you let them fucking loose out on an I-95 somewhere with it. But I sorry about the language.
Hey,
It
we
made
all
me laugh
slip.
thinking about it.
Yeah, we all slip. We all have our moments. I mean, my biggest concern, and Fate, you touched on this a minute ago. My biggest concern is safety. I mean, everybody now has regulation on regulation and everything going on about being safe, being this, being that. And there's a lot of time invested in every day out here and everything we do in being safe. What would something like this do to that?
Me personally, as a driver, like on a percentage base with a hopper where I'm pulling a triple or a quad axle, I'm only making like $5 or $10 more on the load. It's really not paying me much more, as the driver to be taking these heavier loads. Although I do appreciate them in the winter time, they're a lot easier to deal with the weather and stuff. But you take a look at a lot of what these big companies are doing. They're chopping the freight rates down. I've seen Prime and Hopper bottom, and there's a couple other big ones that are trying to jump into the middle of it that are ruining the rates for us.
Yeah.
So, they're going to take every opportunity they can to get these bigger trailers and stuff like that going down the road so that way they can, sit there and, only have to, take in, $1 a mile for their big fleet because, they're making the money off their lease operators or whatnot.
Right.
There's a company out of Detroit Lakes, Minnesota called Fultz. And we call them Swift of the Hopper world. They've really destroyed the rates on a lot of things for the rest of us out here in the Midwest. And they bought the old company that Thumper and I used to work for, which paid pretty dang good. I mean, being a company driver, taking home $5,000 every 2 weeks is really good. Now their drivers are struggling to bring home $1,500 every 2 weeks.
Yep.
So it's about who can do what for the cheapest and cram the most money in their pockets. I don't think it's the freight that they're making the money off of. It's the drivers.
Exactly. It is. It's a shakedown either way you look at it. You know, I mean, just so you guys get a look at the article, it's right here. California issues draft regulations for operating autonomous trucks. It's a good article. It is linked in the description below. Give it a good read if you want some interesting perspective on really, the government's way about getting over and above the efficiency of heavier weights for the wrong
Well, to be
reasons.
honest
I
with you,
think.
I think that California is going to need autonomous trucks as they keep up with their crap with the carbon, shutting all these owner operators down out there. What
I
is it?
was
You
not
can't
going to
have a
bring
truck
that up,
older than 2013?
I was not going to bring that up, but, you know,
Nobody wants to go to
well,
California. I sure as hell don't.
well, and if you guys in watching the replay don't know about my impression of California, I've got a video, California's War on the Trucking Industry. Check it out. It's currently the best and most trending video on my channel. They are headed for disaster, and I plainly put it clear and simple in that video.
Oh,
So,
well, I don't argue any of it. I'm originally from Oregon, and I've hated California since I was born, so
yeah,
we'll just go with that.
yeah, I was going to say you're one of millions that feel the same way.
And they keep moving into my hometown.
Right? Yeah.
I'm not allowed in California with my truck.
Oh, that's good to not good to hear. Faye, go ahead.
Being carb compliant, is not very expensive and it's not very hard to do. And you can make a killing running into California and then leaving California. Don't get
If you
it
find the
twisted.
right freight, if you get the right freight lanes, you are so right. Yes, you are.
Don't get it twisted. There is lots of money in California. They might hate us, but they're willing to pay us. That's the
But
truth.
also, careful, Fate. Don't confuse the argument we're talking about, because what I talk about in my video, and I think what he was referring to just a moment ago, was this fight over independent contractor. That whole AB5 thing, that whole AB5 thing has chased thousands out of California. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, that is what you were referring to, right?
That's exactly what I was referring to.
Yeah.
I mean, my buddy literally had to go buy a newer truck, just to go into California with his loads of bees, and it turned out having more issues for him. But I'm specifically talking about the owner operators in the state of California that, that had successful businesses but could not afford to upgrade their fleet, so they had to shut down entirely just to make up for carb.
Yeah.
Being carb compliant has nothing to do with what you can do to your truck. You got to have a new enough truck to, operate in California.
And as a business, you should realize that's the most efficient thing for you to put money in your pocket. No offense to Thumper, no offense to anybody driving a hood truck. There's nothing wrong with that. But I can haul freight. If I am competing with somebody with a W900 or a stretched out 389, and I am competing in the same lane as they are, I am making more money than them. That's easy math. That is easy business 101. You know what I mean? So like this idea that, oh, hold on. Hold on, guys.
Go ahead.
What's up, boss? Good to go.
Carb
compliance.
Carb compliance is very misunderstood. So to the point,
guys, I gotta run.
Go ahead, Faye. I appreciate joining the show, buddy.
Take care, guys.
The point Fate is making, carb compliance is really misunderstood. I mean, I see nothing wrong with running the older trucks, and I see nothing wrong with the image and the stigma that's associated with it. But I think the point he's making is with these newer, more efficient hood trucks, or less what they call plastic trucks, I think a lot can be given to raising the bottom line, giving yourself more profit, and seeing more at the end of every month than most people do. You're in a business right now, Thumper. You're not really too worried about it. I mean, but the trucks you have fit the purpose. I think of you as a person who's more functionally based when it comes to the trucks you own and run.
No, I'm just in it for the looks.
Bull. I don't know. And that's
just kind of let you know here. Will over here, he's actually in my passenger seat right now. He works for me, so he
Well, that
drives a hooded
explains
truck.
the echo. I get that. Okay. No offense, Will. I just muted your microphone because I could hear the echo. But I mean, honestly, when you think about it, I ruined the joke, but I'm calling bull on your argument there, Thumper, because really, honestly, the whole thing I started was you're a utility shopper. When it comes to the equipment you run in your business, you're a utility shopper, and you have to be because you've got the pusher, you've got the need, you have the utility in that truck you own, the one you showed us earlier. You have the utility to run the cargo and the weight limits you do for the job you perform. One
Yeah,
my
no,
truck, I couldn't do that.
there's
There's no way I could do that.
yeah, no, and there's my application. That's what it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
for the
yeah,
hopper and the grain.
yeah.
Now, could I go buy a anteater nose Peterbilt or a Volvo or well, I should say a Freightliner at the shop?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
you
we
could, but it would cost you money to have to
nose
upgrade it to
and
fit
put
you.
a pusher on it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
You
You'd have
know,
a
our
lot of money
trucks are
invested.
spec'd out. Yeah, so our
Mhm,
trucks are spec'd out to the way they are, but at the same time, everybody knows if you haul cattle, you
mhm.
gotta have a cool truck. You
Yep.
know, that's just they got that right. I'm just trying to crack a joke there, but I've actually been seeing a lot more like T680s. I've seen a couple Freightliner Cascadias. I've even seen a few Volvos hauling cows lately. You know, it
Well, the
just depends
T680,
on.
Kenworths and Peterbilts are coming up and they're lasting longer. So kudos to them. Whether they can fit the job and utility themselves like you do, they're up there. I mean, they're getting better. So, um, hey, a good.
Well, Kenworth built to last. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
not trying to be mean towards Freightliner. I'm not trying to be mean towards any other brand. The reality is they are built to last. I mean, look at the Volvo, what is that, VNLs?
Yeah,
They're a throwaway truck. Sorry,
literally,
you drive them till they wear out and you go buy another one. That's why they're so cheap. And Will's got
literally.
something to say here.
Go ahead, buddy.
So freight or Peterbilts and Kenworths are great unless you put a pack car in it, and I'll say that there's nothing but problems. But I think all new trucks have problems. You can find a
Right.
hooded truck with a damn pack car in it, and it's just junk. You know, I like
Well,
the older stuff because it's more reliable. Like, give me something with a Detroit 60 in it. You know,
hmm
something really easy compared to the DD15 where it takes 10 hours just to get the stupid turbo off the truck.
yeah,
So yeah, I guess all the new trucks across the board right now to me are freaking junk. You know, they got too much going on with it, too many sensors. My girlfriend was driving a Volvo for a while, and every time she started the thing, it had a check engine light on it.
yeah.
So I guess
That's yeah.
brand wise
Every
across the board.
Well, I mean, every truck brand basically starts out just the same way cars do. Every time you have a new engine build, a new circuitry test, a new engine built for a specific purpose, you're going to go through a phase of time where you're going to have issues. Check engine lights, unexplained malfunctions, issues, TSBs written up like crazy. So it stands to reason it's going to happen. You got to run with it. You got to do the best you can with it. So
Yeah.
that's
But
that's
no,
part of
kind of what I
progress.
was getting back to the whole carb thing. What I wanted to say was it's not always the hooded trucks that are out there freaking that don't meet carb compliance. There's nothing wrong with an old Freightliner Century with a 60 series in it. There's a lot of people with Columbias, older Volvos, and things like that were making money off of it. It's I guess the idea of it's just hooded trucks because there's hooded trucks that do meet carb compliance, but they're just shoving too much into it and making it harder for everybody else to get on.
Right? They're good at that. Trying to get things organized here. I got one more question for you guys, and you two are perfect for the question because I mean you guys are both in a business and you're considered smaller in terms of the company size and number of trucks that you guys run. So if these weight limits do increase and if it becomes something that is more mainstream, do you think the smaller companies like yourself and others equal in your size to you will struggle to compete, or will this open up new opportunities? So how do you think that'll work? More weight, more struggle, more cost, more expense is what I think. You tell me. You guys have the smaller company perspective. What say you?
It depends on what you're hauling entirely. Like the drive-in, the reefer, and stuff like that. That's all going to go to the big companies. I don't feel that there's any real money for an owner operator yanking that around unless they got contracts or whatnot.
Mhm.
I don't see bigger companies dabbling in what we're doing so much. Just for the simple fact is who wants to run in North Dakota all winter long? It's not really a choice spot. 90% of the people shoot down to I-10 over the winter time while we're out here in the middle of the blizzard, freaking beating our brakes off and shoveling cow
True.
crap out 30. I honestly think, it just depends on who's hauling what. The flatbed industry, most of your mega carriers for the flatbed industry are already set up with 8-axle setups out west.
Mhm.
Same with the vans, same with the reapers. We got guys that
Right.
run out from Walla Walla, Washington to Jamestown, North Dakota, Grand Forks, North Dakota with frozen potatoes or French fries, pulling triaxle reaper trailers. I don't think that a lot's going to change. A lot of these companies are more strict than the smaller companies on a lot of the things, and it just depends on how much they want to spend to maintain everything.
Right. So what do you think, Thumper?
I'd have to agree with him, really. I mean, I guess we're already set up for it. We've been doing it for years, so it's kind of a hard one to answer, because
Well, I
we,
mean,
we
everybody.
specialize in it already.
Well, yeah, we
You
specialize in
know,
it, but obviously everybody's
I mean,
different in terms of their utility. So,
and honestly, Mr. Joe Schmo across the road from us, who drives a Freightliner Cascadia that's got a short wheelbase and stuff. Well, now he's got to haul more weight. Well, now he's got to stretch his truck, put a pusher on it, do this,
Mhm.
do that, just to get it to be weight. It's going to cost him a lot of money.
Right.
Just the pusher
Well,
alone on the truck are $12,000. That's just the pusher. That's not installed.
right. Well, that actually brings up a good point. All right. Now think about it. And this is a good way to end the show on. Think about it. What should come first? Should the industry prioritize infrastructure upgrades, or should we put other things before that? Before even considering adding to the norm of freight volumes from 80,000 to 91. Should we be thinking ahead of this, or are we on the right track? So you tell me,
No,
Thumper. What do
you
you
got
think? What do you think should be done?
you got to get the infrastructure done first. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
no ifs, ands, and buts about it. If your roads and bridges can't handle the weight, and you just automatically throw that weight limit up on all these, we'll go
Yep.
drive down a minimum maintenance road out in the middle of Timbuktu and break all your teeth out. That's what's gonna
Mm,
happen.
yeah,
I
it's not
mean,
good when you consider that.
you gotta, it's kind of like that first chicken or the egg.
Yeah, exactly,
And
exactly.
I mean, yeah, these bridges that they build on interstates and everything else, yes, they're rated for a certain weight, but they're
Hmm.
actually rated more than what the signs actually say, because they're designed to take that stress. Well, now you're having thousands on the road at 91,000 pounds. You just you just broke the interior the and you know what I'm trying to say. You just
Yeah,
destroyed that. You just destroyed that, because, well, that's a lot more stress than what that brick or that whatever
Yeah.
was designed for.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you gotta rebuild everything. I mean, in North Dakota, we have 2 seasons here: road construction and winter.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Literally, they're always working on the interstate and the bridges because we got oil field up here, and we got farmers that load their trailers more than
Yeah.
what they should, and
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just North
Yep.
Dakota's trying to stay on top of that. What's up, Billy?
Yep. Will, I'm going to have you give us your
I-
last thoughts. We're fixing to wind up the show, so want to once again thank you
Yep.
for being on the show and tell me what do you think? Do you think we're prioritizing everything right, or do you think we need to stop and rethink this whole thing?
I think what we need to do the research on how Canada's doing, because Canada did just exactly what we're talking about. They got 58-foot trailers up there running back and forth. Their B trains are hauling 140,000 plus. I mean, look at their infrastructure.
Yes.
Look at the trucking industry up there. That's what's going to answer it for us.
Yep. And I did extend an invitation to Poet, but unfortunately, I think he probably slept through it. So, he was going to join us tonight. And that would have been a perfect perspective to hear from him on. But
It
anyway,
really would have.
I know, but sometimes people just don't get the argument. But hey, everybody's different. So whether you're talking about weight limits, whether you're talking about regulations, we've got a lot of work. What do you think, Bumper?
Well, I hear the music, so I know. I don't know. It's a pretty good show. I'd like to thank Billy for coming on with us and whatnot. And again, it's that question: what came first, chicken or the egg? We got to figure this out. And a very valid point. We should look at Canada. They got it figured out. So, have a really, really good show. Hope everybody enjoyed it. As I always say, we don't do, or God bless the troops, firefighters, EMTs, and God bless everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever religion you fall on. And just remember, we don't do it for us and our families. We do it for you.
Amen. Well said, my friend. Well said. When it comes to trucking, there ain't but one way to do it, and that's thinking about safety first. When you're on the road, make sure you follow all the recommendations. Namely, subscribe to my channel. Look here once a week, Saturdays at 7 o'clock, for an exciting show called Frontlines, where we give you the floor, let you debate on what makes trucking great again. Meantime, check out the other people, Fate, Thumper, Larry, Grumpy. They have just as much in this show as you guys. We are looking out for you. Till next week, make sure everything you do is for the right reason. Keep it real. Keep it safe. Above all else, keep it rolling.